A leopard on a termite mound, and actually one of my absolute favourite leopards. I believe, I have to have a close look, but I think we have just found Thandi on Cheetah Plains. The oldest daughter, the twin sister of Shadow, and the oldest daughter of Karula, the queen that James and Herbert are searching for. Hello, girl. And we actually have Andrew to thank for this, because he said to me there were female leopard tracks coming up from Annette's, which is south of Cheetah Plains, towards Juma Dam. And lo and behold, here we have Thandi on a termite mound. And I'm very happy that she moved, because if she hadn't moved, I wouldn't have spotted her. Hello, big girl. It's amazing, you can so see the resemblance between Thandi, Shadow and Karula. Isn't she just stunning in this morning light? She's either got a very full belly or she's pregnant, which is something we spoke about before. This looks like a combination of the two. We saw her a couple of weeks ago around the Mulwanini, and we speculated that she might be pregnant. Looking at her now, it's hard to tell. Let's just wait for her to move forward a little bit. But she has had a meal recently. That full belly is not just, if she is pregnant, it's not just cubs. Absolutely wonderful. What a nice surprise. Now, for those of you who are new to Safari Live and our different leopard characters, to see a leopard perched on the top of a termite mound like this is actually a very common occurrence. That's because it provides them with a perfect vantage point. They can scope out the area before they go wandering through. The predator's eyesight is actually relatively good. She's geared towards movement, so they're attracted by movement, just like lions, which is why we always say when confronted with a leopard or a lion on foot, you absolutely never run away from them, because you trigger that instinct within them. So she's scanning, using those hypersensitive ears and nose and eyes, all in combination to see what she can find. Something's attracted her attention ever so slightly. Isn't this just an incredible view? Here you go, the 3-spot pattern on her left-hand side. I think, unless I'm wrong, I think Thandi's 3-3. I never remember the spot patterns, to be completely honest with you. I usually just recognize the leopard just from looking at them and their general shape and face. 3, what do we got there? 3-3. What I'm talking about is the top row of spots on their nose, their whisker spots. Oh, a fly is irritating her. And that's how they get classified. So if you look at the top there, if you count 1, 2, and 3, just where her nose starts to curve upwards. Oh, look at that. But when she looks at you like that, you absolutely know she's, ooh, look at that belly. That looks like a pregnant belly to me too. That looks like a very pregnant belly. It's right at the back. Isn't she just glorious in this dappled morning light? What a pleasant surprise. Lovely way to start off a morning. Definitely made the chilly drive to Cheetah Plains 100% worth it. Okay, she is leading us into a tricky block, but we shall endeavour to follow, dodging the strychnos as we go, or the monkey orange as we go. Now, like all opportunistic leopards, she could well be looking for something to hunt. I think she has recently had a meal, even though that full belly is not just based on food, I don't think. I'd love to hear your opinions as well, if you agree with us as to our assessment. Oh. She's scent marking her territory. But if you agree with our assessment as to Thandi's condition, so to speak, and whether or not she's pregnant, I'd love to hear from you, as we always do. You can send that through on #SafariLive on Twitter, or any other questions that you have, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Okay, this is why tracking Karula and her kin is always an interesting experience, because she's just changed direction completely. I'm hoping she's going to stay on this path and make life relatively easy for us. Everybody watch your heads and your arms and your various anatomical body parts, because she's leading us through a strychnos thicket. Just relatively open for now. I'm just trying to find a good spot to get around her. I'm hoping she's going to lead us to a road, which would also be very useful in terms of calling us in, because I don't 100% know where I am, which is my standard approach to cheetah plains. I'm not very good with the road names yet. What's that tail flicking? Let's just stop and see. She might have spotted something. And there you go. You've got that perfect example of what Justin has asked, which is why leopards have that incredibly white tip on their tail. Especially because it shows up so clearly on a leopard. Look at it go. Twitch, 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 twitch. So the main sort of reason behind that, most theories suggest it's to help cubs follow their mother through the bush, kind of like a follow me sign. I'll add to that that a tail, in terms of determining a leopard's mood, the tail is one of the most important indicating factors. So a thrashing tail, those of you with domestic cats will know, the tail of your cat will give away its current mood. And a leopard is no different, so highlighting it in a color, either black in the case of lions or white in the case of a leopard, is a useful way of them being able to use it for visual communication. So that's one of the big reasons. It's an interesting evolutionary thing though, because I have seen a leopard give away its position almost seemingly accidentally. Been stalking for hours, and then all of a sudden that tail that shows up so clearly gives a twitch, and its position is revealed to the prey that it was stalking. And I could see the frustration from that leopard. Guys, I think we're gonna go through quite a, no, hold on, we've got an okay position. There's lots of holes here. It's a bit. Apparently most of you, whoopsies, sorry Rust Bucket, most of you agreeing that she does look particularly pregnant. Oh, look at that, that's stunning. A little trot up the termite mound. Scouting about, on alert. Isn't she absolutely beautiful? So yes, that tip of the tail is an interesting thing. It gives the leopard's position away at times. As I said, I've seen it happen before. And often what you'll find is if a leopard's been spotted by a squirrel or a go-away bird, something that's alarm calling, what they'll often do is they'll lift up their tail and flick it, almost like raising a flag of surrender, as if to say, okay, I know you've seen me. You can stop telling everybody else that I'm here. I give in, I give up. I'll move off elsewhere. Okay, let's just see if she decides to settle here. I don't think she's going to. And his ears constantly sort of seeking. I think she is hunting, and we're going to be very careful not to risk interfering. Oh, time for a quick scratch. Haloed in this morning light, absolutely beautiful. You can really get an idea of just how long a leopard's whiskers really are. Not often we get to see them highlighted like this. She must be close to 10 years old at this point. I think Shadow and Thandi must be close to 10. Both of them have had relatively, I think it's just maybe because we compare them to their mom, but both Thandi and Shadow have had relatively unsuccessful attempts at raising litters of cubs. But hopefully this time will be different for Thandi. And Aqua, you were wondering about her success rate as a mother. As far as I know, she has one adult daughter in Mala Mala. Also heard a rumor that she had a son, but I haven't been able to clarify that. Oh, she's moving very quickly here. So Aqua, a relatively limited success rate. It gets very thick in here. I'm going to need to concentrate just going through. Don't want to lose her in this strychnos thicket. Whoop, nearly lost an eye instead. I think she's going to lead us where we can't follow. Okay, because it is so incredibly thick here, for now I'm going to send you back across to James so I can concentrate on keeping track of her. And hopefully we'll be back with you and the leopard shortly. Now, add him to the list of leopards that I would really like to encounter. Now, MJ, you were wondering about the quickest way to identify the sex of a leopard. There's a huge size difference in the males and the females. Even a year-old cub that is a male cub is almost larger than their mother, even at a young age. But to be honest, probably the quickest way, have a look at their necks. The males tend to have a far thicker neck than the females do. They develop that dewlap at around 5-6 years old, that they will then continue to grow throughout their lives. And we know with Tingana, he's basically a head and shoulders. His neck doesn't really exist, it's just pure muscle and dewlap. And then the other quick way is, because you usually see, almost invariably when you first spot a leopard, it's usually walking away from you. And the normal way is relatively clear in leopards. Their testicles are clearly visible underneath their tail. That's usually one of the quick ways of checking if you can't quite get a sense of scale or perspective of the size of the leopard you're looking at. Behavior-wise, relatively similar. She's settled down. I think there is something in the block. I think the reason for her sudden change of direction and looping around is she spotted something that she wants to hunt, but it's now a game of patience in terms of catching it. So she's very intently watching, and she's waiting for whatever it is. She obviously tried to calculate the direction that it's walking in, as well as the wind direction, because it is very, very windy today. And she might also have wanted to place herself downwind of it, which is exactly what she's done if there is something in that direction. The wind is blowing the scent straight to her, and her scent away from whatever it is. We're going to proceed with a little bit more caution. Good morning, Hayden. Hayden Turner is sending us a big hello from Australia, and we all miss you, Hayden. We can't wait for you to come and visit us once again. You're saying you're enjoying watching this magic live from Australia. Isn't it just magical? It's the wonder of going out on a live safari and not really knowing exactly what you're going to encounter along the way. Where to next, girl? What's the plan? Slinking over the top of the termite mound. I'm hesitant for now to reposition just because I want to gauge exactly where she's looking and concentrating and what it is that she might be trying to hunt. I don't want to interfere in any way, so we'll just wait and watch and see what she does. Work out a lot from a leopard's behavior and their focus and where they're looking. I think she's just looking for now. I've just heard an interesting update while we watch our gorgeous female leopard. The lion that was shouting all night last night, roaring away right next to our camp, has apparently made his way, having made himself thirsty after a night of calling. He's made his way to the Djuma Pan. So for those of you who are watching the Djuma Dam camera at the same time as our live safari, you'll be happy to know that James is on his way there now. In a moment we've got this extraordinary view. What's there, girl? Are you hiding? Or just finding a comfortable spot? The difficulty is in this windy weather to try and listen. There's so many rustles everywhere. Just the tip of her tail visible there, blowing slightly in the wind. Now we spoke about the identifying features of our leopard. We've got a tip of nose and tip of tail and not much else. We will reposition in a moment. I just want to watch what she's looking at. James, you were wondering, since there's that case of the lioness with a mane in Botswana, and it's happened a few times throughout history, you're wondering whether there are any recorded cases of a female leopard developing a dewlap. Not as far as I know. I mean, there are obviously some females that are genetically have larger necks than others, just as there are females with large necks as it is. They're bigger than some of the other females. Saleheshe, for example, is larger than Karula's line of leopards. And having seen her cub, Tiani, for the first time a couple of weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, it's definitely a much larger genetic line. That cub is absolutely enormous. She's so cool. But it's the first and only time I've ever seen her, and she really is stunning. Whereas Karula's family line is a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, and Thandi is tiny for a little female leopard. She's also found herself a really well-hidden spot. Hey girl, making life tricky. Just see if she's still focused intently. I think she's relaxed a bit, which means we can reposition. Let's try and go and find ourselves a nicer viewpoint. It's the perfect hiding place that she's found, sort of between the two mounds of the termite mound, the two vents. Stalled that one. Well, the one thing about Thandi is she's got a slightly larger personal space boundary than her mother does, and then Shadow does. She likes to have the vehicles a little bit further away to feel comfortable. I think I've really tied myself in knots here. My clever plan was not so clever. We might have to start this all again and go from the other side, because I found myself faced with flat tire inevitability if I drive through here. It's just sickle bush everywhere. Okay, let's try this again. Let's go around the other way. Sorry about that. Sorry, VM. Oh, goodness me. We found something. It's a stump of some kind. We're just going to try and get over it. So while we attempt to negotiate this incredibly tricky position that Thandi has placed us in, or at least I've placed us in, James, you'll be happy to hear, has made his way to another one of our big cats.
Go ahead. Right, everybody, look at that big lion there. I've just got to quickly call him in. Tex, male lion, junction, Wahlberg's Nest and Twin Dams Road. Animal is static. Right, let's go around the other side of him. I think this is that Birmingham boy with the sort of pathetic pom-pom on the back of his tail. Yes, yes, I know. I'm sorry I said that about you. He's looking at me very angrily now because I've told him, everyone, that he's got a poor pom-pom. If you were to compare his pom-pom, though, with the one, for example, on Jamie's hat, you would be amazed how poor it was. But now look at him in the golden light of the dawn. Hello, boy. Very spectacular there. I may even take a photograph of you. Please don't lie down just yet. Isn't that lovely, everyone? Beautiful male lion, and thank you for pointing him out to us. Apparently he was on the Djuma Dam cam. Stunning. Ooh, there's another one calling. That's why he turned his head. It went, ooh, ooh. Now, I believe Hayden Turner of Australia is watching us. Hayden, wonderful to have you with us. And thank you for giving us of your time, of course. And please do send through, well, not so much a question. You probably can't ask anything that you don't know that we don't know, if you know what I mean. Just tell us what you're doing on your, well, you must be almost in Sunday by now. Tell us how it's going there in Australia. And also tell us when you're next going to come and see us, because I know there are many people who'd like to know the answer to that question. Now, a very good question from someone I think called Iretus. That's an interesting name. Iretus, you say, do we call lions by the groups that they are part of rather than by individual names because they're more difficult to tell apart? And the answer is yes and no. They're not as easy as leopards to tell apart. They obviously don't have those unique spot patterns beneath the nose that the leopards do. They don't have, well, unique spot patterns all over the body like the leopards do. They also roam much further, which means that they're not ever in the same area for the same amount of time as the leopards are. So we don't see them on properties the size that we operate on as frequently as we do some of the leopards. And yes, there is an element of us calling them by the group that they belong to because we can't identify them, obviously. But it's also because they belong to that group. Now, you can absolutely tell which lion this is if you see them regularly. I am particularly poor at recognizing animals, but I guarantee you that we've got viewers who will look at him and on sight be able to identify him immediately. And I recognize him as a Birmingham boy, I think, and I stand to correction here, because of that. If you look at his tail, you can see that it's got a skinny pom-pom on the end of it. It doesn't have a sort of a large black pom-pom. So I think that's how I've identified him as one of the Birmingham boys. So please, would somebody help us out here? Somebody of our more regular viewers, will you help us out and tell us which Birmingham boy, or what the name of this Birmingham boy is? And they named the Birmingham boys, of course, because they come from a farm in the Timbavati called Birmingham. The Timbavati is a little bit north of this position, about 50 kilometers or so, so they're quite a long way from the pride into which they were born. And just for our new viewers, they're called the Birmingham boys. There are 4 of them. He's hearing another lion calling somewhere. He keeps looking. The 4 Birmingham boys were 5. They come from a pride on the farm Birmingham, like I say, in the Timbavati. One of them was killed or died from the injuries sustained by a buffalo that he tried to kill. Unfortunately, he came off second best. Then these guys took over this area almost exactly a year ago. They chased out the dominant males. James in Texas, you want to know how they know each other from other lions that are unrelated. James, I think very much in the same way that you know who is friend and who is foe. They grew up together from tiny little cubs. They're all roughly the same age. I don't think they're all from the same litter, but they'll certainly be from 2 females who gave birth relatively same time. And so they've known each other from birth. They smell like home. Remember that animals use their sense of smell far more than do human beings, and they'll recognize each other's smells. And I also think you'll find that they will recognize the look at each other. And we also know, interestingly, James, that lions are able to recognize each other's voices. So if a lion calls from a distance, he will be able to tell exactly who that lion is. If it's an unfamiliar lion, he will know that almost immediately. And John, you say this is Bboy number 3. So the Birmingham boy number 3 is or Skinny Pom-Pom, I think we'll call him. What do you think, Brian? Do you think Skinny Pom-Pom's a good name?
I think it's quite fitting.
It's quite fitting, very regal. But as I always say, I don't believe lions are the royalty out here. I think they're much more the gangsters, the mafia of the bush. So Skinny Pom-Pom's kind of good name for a member of the ruling Don's family, wouldn't you say? Yeah. Ooh, look. He's going to call. Or is he going to yawn? Yawn. Yawn or call? Oh, sneeze. My interpretation of animal behavior, as you can see, everybody, superlative. He's going to call or sneeze. He's quite a splendid fellow, though, isn't he? Especially when he's sitting up with his golden black mane shining in the sun. So much more regal than when he's sort of lying next to a rotting buffalo carcass in a pile of his own excrement, which is unfortunately what lions do. And it has been confirmed, everybody, that the other male leopard that stole the kill from quarantine was Mvula, his father. So I think that's quite nice on a number of levels. Firstly, it means that quarantine was relatively safe because he was with his dad and not with Tingana, who I think would have perhaps taken exception to having the young pretender in his territory. And likewise, it also says to me that Mvula is not quite as decrepit as, and I use that term advisedly, knowing that it's going to create a furore on Twitter that I've described Mvula, beloved leopard that he is, as decrepit. But he's, he's not territorial anymore, but it obviously means he's still strong enough to handle a bit of competition from some youngsters, and it's clear that quarantine backed off from Mvula, so that's nice to know. can hear something. He keeps looking up. And now he's biting a stick. He's a lovely fellow, I must say. And you know, many of you, of course, will know the Matimba male, the black-maned Matimba male that we called Hairy Belly for a long time, and we know that he's got a twitch in his face. He's got that sort of twitch on the left side of his mouth. This chap doesn't look entirely different. He also looks like he's got a bit of a twitch. Did you see that, Brian? Mm. All right, let's head back to the leopard and find out what she's doing. I'm going to sit with this lion until he goes to sleep, which will inevitably be as soon as the sun warms him sufficiently.
And welcome back. As you can see, we have managed to stay with the lovely Thandi. I have to tell you something. Due to our position, my radio antenna is very much curved backwards in a blackthorn, which means I can't hear a thing that's coming from final control. So for those of you that are asking questions, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just in a little bit of a tricky spot right now. There's also a considerable amount of chatter on the Game Drive channel. We are going to have to leave her at some point because there are other vehicles interested in joining us at this sighting. There we go. You can see how the wind is bugging her. She's still a little bit unsettled. Oh, Justin, you've asked a question about something to do with leopards and fur. Good morning to you. I'm afraid I have absolutely no idea what you're asking about the leopards and the fur because I can't hear you terribly well. Hold on one second. Let's see if we can't make a plan here. No. We're in a tricky spot. Sorry, my pom-pom's getting in the way. Oh, it's nothing about animals' fur. In fact, it was what animals do they prefer. Well, Justin, it depends on the size of the leopard, it depends on the sex. So the female leopards of Thandi's size will go for things anywhere ranging between Dacre, Steenbok, and then Impala as well, especially when the Impala are distracted in the rutting season. For something larger like Tingana, he can go for things like kudu, warthog. Generally, female leopard try not to pick a fight with warthogs. They do occasionally, and they're more than capable of catching them. It's just they don't want to risk any kind of injury to themselves. It is an interesting thing about leopards, and even more fascinating than that is the fact that individual leopards seem to have individual preferences, or at least they have areas of speciality. So Tingana, for example, seems to be very good at hunting things that live in tunnels or in burrows. He very often catches warthog. I mean, we've had several warthog kills with him in the last few months, and apparently before I started working here, he also had earned a reputation as something of an aardvark killer, catching tunneling aardvark. Some leopards actually learn to be sort of exist off scavenging kills from other predators. They're opportunists. Very, very clever ones. Both Karula and Shadow have made short work of a couple of male impala since they've been so distracted. And while Thandi decides which way she's going to go and I try and work out where on earth I am in order to assist others into the sighting, let's go back to James and his big cat.
Now, Brian and I were just saying that we think that's a very good idea that you come back here, mainly because for a lion sighting in the middle of the day, this is high action. He is now going to, well, I'm not going to describe what he's going to do, I'm going to let you just watch. because he will be around here, I suspect, for the rest of the day, somewhere around here, but he's going to go to sleep at some stage. So while that leopard is being a little bit difficult moving through the bushes, we'll watch the much more nocturnal version of the cats. Now, I have been struck over the last few months by how much the leopards move during the day, how much hunting they do during the day, versus lions, for example, which tend to be almost completely asleep for most of the day. Leopards, I think, are much more diurnal than we think they are, and I think you'll find that in areas where there is pressure from human encroachment and from other predators, they will avoid the kind of movement of other predators. So, in this area, we know that the lions and the hyenas move around at night much more than they do during the day. I think that means that the leopards here are more diurnal than we think they are. And I also think that if you go to somewhere like the Cape, for example, we were chatting yesterday about the penguin-eating leopards of the Southern Cape, and certainly a friend of mine who lives on the Southern Cape coast had a leopard walk through her garden the other day. Those leopards are probably vastly more nocturnal, because the number of nocturnal predators in the area are that much smaller, but the human beings, of course, are very active during the day. And I think that's why the likes of Karula and Thandi and Shadow, often you'll find their tracks moving in the daytime. He looked almost like he was going to stand up there, but I think it would become much too much effort. But the impala have just seen him. The impala are over there behind us. They've just spotted him, and they're deeply concerned by his presence, as so they should be. And Joey, that ties in with your question about whether or not he would eat the baby buffalo from yesterday, and the answer is absolutely. He would devour it, and were he to come across it on his own, there would be very little that those other buffalo could do. But for that big buffalo bull that was with the baby buffalo yesterday, he would take great displeasure at viewing a lion like this, and he might chase the lion off. But easily a lion like this could take a little buffalo. Do you see his claws stuck out there, Brian? See, he's pushed his claws out. He's just cleaning in between them, biting his nails. He's probably just feeling a bit nervous. The crack of a branch off to the left-hand side of your screen indicating the presence of elephants. And the elephants, of course, if they find this fellow, will be very unimpressed. Elephants are not impressed by lions, sorry. Kirsten, don't laugh at me. It's not funny. My lack of ability to speak. Well, we've had a rather good morning, I'd say, on the cat front. A great return. MJ, a nice question from you. You say, how much venison does a lion need to eat in order to maintain his figure? Well, he is able, I'm going to work this out for you, but he is able to eat up to 20% of his body mass. Now, this lion is a pretty average-sized male lion, small to average, and so he probably weighs in the region of 180 kilograms. Now, I will work this out in pounds once I've done it in kilos. I'm not going to do it all the way in kilos. 180 pounds, 20% of that is about... it is 35 kilograms, so you can say 80 pounds. Around about 80 pounds of meat he can eat in just about one sitting. Now that, if he ate one meal of 80 pounds of prime cut venison, MJ, I think you'd find that it would last him for at least 4 days before he became very hungry again. So let's say, and he wouldn't have to eat again, I'd say, let's say 80 kilograms, or 80 pounds of venison per week. Plus minus. Okay? Ooh, don't know if you can hear that. Elephant's going, ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, the elephant's going ballistic down south of where we are now. That's the left-hand side of your screen. Look at his hair blowing in the wind, isn't that nice? Morning.
Sorry, we just stopped at one.
No problem. And Deborah, armchair traveller, you say he's having a good hair day. I think he's having an exceptional hair day. Brian, you of course have got wonderful hair. How would you describe his hair compared with yours?
A close second to mine.
A close second.
But magnificent nevertheless.
Yes, I agree. He has much better hair than me, everybody. I don't have any hair at all. See, he keeps looking where he's been looking the whole time, and I don't know if he can hear a lion or if it's the fact that he can hear... Ooh, here we go. It might be that he can hear those elephants. I think he's heard something else through here. Let's see. We will follow him. It's a Birmingham boy, yeah. Little bit, yeah. He's the one they call number 3. And he's got that very, he's got a very poor pom-pom on his tail. I think he's going to go straight onto the road there. This game path pops out on the road just down there. Hold on, everybody. Here we go. Just moving through there to the right-hand side, and I'm going to assume that he's going to pop out here because to drive through this block will be a heaving nightmare. No, he's just over there. I'll just try and get to a position where we can view him, like here. Sean in Chicago, a nice one from you. You want to know if there's an animal that hunts lions. No, Sean, the only thing that a lion is scared of is elephants and bigger male lions and perhaps a massive, massive group of hyenas. Otherwise, they are afraid of nothing. And nothing will eat them, except other lions, and maybe hyenas might eat them as well. That's quite a nice view of him walking through the bush there on the game path. And of course the cats, a bit like us, they like to walk where it's easy to walk, so they often use roads. Here he comes. I just wonder if he's not heard something up here. Maybe there's a female in here somewhere. When we first stopped and he looked up, I heard, oh, which sounded to me like another lion. It could have been the wind blowing through a particularly sort of stiff piece of branch somewhere, but he'll come out. There's some clearings just up ahead of where he's walking now. You can still see him there. I'm going to wait here. There's a gap in the road here. Did he? Brian says he sat down, everyone. He may have just had a scratch. Is he lying down? You got him? Ah, yes. That's quite a nice shot. We will go in there and try and get a closer look, everyone, but just have a look there. And if you're walking through the bush, I always like to do this. If you're walking through the bush, that is the kind of thing you're looking out for. Now, our view with the naked eye is probably not that dissimilar to the view you have there. And you can imagine walking through the bush how easy it would be to go straight past a fellow like that, especially if he just ducked his head down, which is what he would do if he saw you coming by on foot. Justin, a very salient question from you. You say, have I ever been stalked by a lion? Justin, to my knowledge, I haven't, but then you wouldn't really know, would you? You do hear stories, and I mean, certainly there was during my training, you know, I've told you about the fact that we had to do these unarmed walks. I'm just going to try and find an easy way in here. We had to do those unarmed walks where we had to walk the reserve unarmed. which may sound like an insane activity if you don't know the area very well, but it isn't. But one of the guys who was training at a reserve near where I was, was doing his unarmed walks, and he wasn't very aware of what was going on around him, and apparently a lioness did start to stalk him, and he didn't realize, and a game drive came around the corner, saw the lion, saw him, and drove him between them, and he got on the car, and it was fine. I mean, I don't think the lion was very close to him, but it freaked him out completely, and he left the bush 2 days later. He wasn't able to come back and work here. So it does happen. What would have happened at the end of that story, I don't know. I'm very pleased that the game drive was there, but that was the end of his career. All right, we're going to try and find what's going on here. Let's go and find out what's happening with Thandi and Jimmy.
Whew. So Thandi's led us on a relatively merry dance, and we've actually left the sighting for now. We've pulled out of the sighting. I don't want to risk damaging the vehicle any further. I don't want to risk upsetting her at all. And it just got incredibly dense in there. Plus, there's also several other vehicles that would like to come and see her. So now that I've guided a couple of people in, it's time for us to leave. We've had our time with her. It was awesome. And I think we're done for now. Now let's go across towards the Cheetah Plains, or the plains part of Cheetah Plains, and see what we can spot there.
A lot to their prey species, but to me, I don't smell them at all. Hyenas sometimes are a bit niffy. Hyenas are sometimes massively niffy, but I don't find that lions and leopards, unless they're around a carcass, are smelly at all. And whether or not they smell different to their prey species, I don't know. Hello, Jake in the United Kingdom. You want to know where on Djuma Karula is? Well, here comes Charlotte. Jake, if you've got a Google Earth map, you can probably see... Oh, look, she's going up the tree. Look at this. Look. What a clever girl. And here comes George. There's obviously some piece of the kill underneath there where they've been. That's fantastic. Fantastic stuff. And the wind is absolutely howling here. So if you've got a Google Earth map, Jake, what you do is you can find the road names actually, and Treehouse Dam is about 150 meters to the left of your screen, so to the west of our position. We're on the drainage line that leads out of Treehouse Dam. Savage's Track to the north of this drainage line, Treehouse Dam to the right of our drainage line. And if you don't have the road names, which you should be able to find there, if you can't, then we are basically in the middle southern section of Djuma, middle to southwest section. Now, what I'm going to do, just for our last few minutes, is move a little bit so that we can possibly see these cubbies eating. And again, I know we had that, Andrew Causa posted that wonderful video of the two cubs playing with each other. But again, we find them separated here. And what is this fascinating behavior that he's engaging in here? George down there is basically burying things. He's doing what leopards do. They often bury the stomach contents of whatever it is that's been killed. And that's what he was doing there. He seemed to be doing some kind of burying maneuver. She's up in the tree. That is definitely yet another hapless duiker. Aaron, you say Catterday once again. Catterday is living up to its name. It certainly is, isn't it? What a day. Did you see her hiss at him there? She definitely gave him a nasty little growl as he looked up at the tree. Now look at this. He's thinking about going up the tree. No, he's not. He's just laying down at the base. And he's not going up the tree at the moment. He's thought better of incurring the wrath of Princess Charlotte. Wonderful luck we've had today. And Cat in Tampa, you say George is a little roly-poly. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I can kind of get the idea. She is very hungry. Very hungry indeed. Again. Feeding these two I don't think is any mean feat. And old Georgie boy looks on from the floor, slightly forlornly up into the tree. What a perfect way to end our little drive. Let me just confirm the spot patterns. Look how strong she is. Absolutely incredible. So she's actually got 4 spots on her left. So she's 4-3, not 3-4 like her mum. And her 4th spot is above the other 3. Now if you don't know what I'm talking about the unique spot patterns that occur underneath the noses of these leopards, and that's often the best way of identifying them. This is just unbelievable, eh? What a sighting. The wind is howling all around, and I'm sure part of the reason this duiker met its end is the strength of this wind. I drove past here yesterday. I looked into this tree very carefully, and I don't think this was here. I think this was killed last night sometime. This was the one road that we didn't drive this morning around this area. Right, well the prospects for the afternoon are very good. I've no doubt Jamie or I will come and spend a substantial amount of the afternoon here. And we'll be out before, of course, anyone else gets mobile. So that will be the plan for the afternoon. We're going to have to love you and leave you here on Catterday from the middle of Juma. Big thanks to Kirsten Mack-Smith in the final control, terrifying woman that she is, being helped, I think, by Chelsea Byrne this morning. A big thanks to Jamie Patterson for finding the other leopard on the other part of the reserve. And Brian, of course, to you and your suited thumb, well done. Mostly to all of you, especially for your questions other than about exactly what we're seeing. We've had some wonderful conversations today. Thanks for those. We'll see you later at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Bye-bye.